Dre all day.
Now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there even when the success you've expected to achieve is yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves anyone to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. We put all this together in one package, and what you get is the mindset, the method, the philosophy, the book, the show, known as Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. Today's topic is how to get out of the crowd and onto the stage, or how to get out of the comment section and onto the screen, whichever way you want to see it. But metaphorically, they mean the exact same thing. We talked about this I've done articles and done episodes here. We talked about the concepts of the stage and the audience. We talked about this deeply in episode 1242, why we want the average to remain average. And I want you to understand, actually, I'm going to point out something to you that you already understand. Everyone has at least a small part of themselves that wants to be, quote, out there, close quote. But many people never do it. They never put themselves out there. Some people are waiting for something or someone to put them out there, and it's not going to happen. Some people have been thinking about getting out there and they haven't taken any action. Some people have tried to put themselves out there. Maybe it didn't quite work. Maybe it did work, but then it ended up going bad and you went back, and right now you have feared yourself into not doing it again because you're traumatized from the past failure or the past going left of a situation, so you don't want to deal with that anymore. Every one of us, though, on some level wants to put ourselves out there. Maybe we've already been out there, we want to get out there again. Maybe we're already out there and we're not as out there as we want to be. Every single one of us wants it, though, on some level, whether you want to admit it or not. And today I'm going to give you some tools for actually making it happen. I'm going to help surface some tools that you already have access to that maybe you just haven't been using, that will help you do this. Now, if you're a person who believes with all your conviction, 100%, that you don't want any part of you, there's nothing within you that wants to be out there in any way, then you can skip this episode because I'm not talking to you. But for the rest of you, and that is probably everybody, listen closely, because I'm going to help you again surface these resources, or equip yourself with these resources so you can get yourself out there the way that you know, even if nobody else knows, you know you want to be. Point number one, the topic once again today is how to get out of the crowd and onto the stage. And this is metaphorically speaking. I mean, on some levels, we'll all be in the crowd at some points in our lives, but I'm talking about overall, generally speaking, with your life. Be the person on the stage instead of the person in the crowd. Number one, accept yourself. This is the first step to putting yourself out there, because many people don't do it. Don't get themselves out there, that is, because they are too overly concerned, inaccurately concerned, unnecessarily concerned about what the public will think of you. You're concerned that the public maybe will not accept you. Maybe that you'll be ridiculed, you'll be booed off the stage. I mean, maybe literally, maybe metaphorically. But the thing is, you don't know how the public is going to respond to something that the public has yet to experience. The public hasn't seen or heard you yet, then you have no idea how the public is going to respond to your presence. If you've never been out there, then you don't know what it's going to feel like when the public sees you as a person who's out there. But this is the false premise that stops a whole lot of people from putting themselves out there. They're just thinking about, well, the public might think this, or people might say that, or someone might respond this way, or maybe there'll be no response whatsoever. So this is the reason that people give themselves to never even try. So a lot of people psych themselves out from trying anything, and this doesn't even have to be about putting yourself out there. This can be anything in life. A lot of people try somewhere between 0 and 1 time of doing something before they quit and give up. And the reason why it's somewhere between 0 and 1 time, because you may be thinking, well, how can someone try 25% of 1 time or half of 1 time? How is that even possible, Dre? The way it is possible is that the average, a whole lot of people try 0 times before they quit. So then of the rest of us who do try at least once anything, that average gets pulled down by the majority of people who are trying 0 times. And that's why if you were to just take a subsection of just human beings, pick that random, the average number of times they will try something before they quit and decide never to do that thing again is somewhere between 0 and 1. And one of the main reasons why people do this is because they don't accept themselves. In other words, they don't accept the fact that they may be less than perfect and it may not be as good as or better than this person or that person. They don't accept the fact that it's okay for the public to maybe not pay attention at all, or to pay attention in such a way just to point out that they don't like you, or they're not feeling you, or that they disagree with you, or that they want to make a meme about you, or that they're going to laugh at you and make a joke about you. The thing is, though, you never know how the public, and whatever that public may be for you, your audience that you're aiming for, you have no idea how they're going to respond to something that they have yet to experience. So the first step then, before we even worry about the public, or without ever worrying about the public, we don't need to worry at all. The first thing is you got to accept yourself, because when you accept you, then the public will accept you. I've said this many times here. Your perception of you is the most important perception there is, because however you perceive yourself, that's how everyone else is going to perceive you. We do not have the mental capacity to assess every single person we come across, look through their facade, their presentation, and decide, okay, what part of this is real, what part of it's not. Let me look deeper into this person and figure out who they really are so I can get a real read on this individual. We don't do that. We don't have the resources to do it. We don't have the time or the energy to do that. So we do the easiest thing possible. You know what the easiest thing is for all of us? Is we accept people as they present themselves. However someone presents themselves to you, that's the way that you see that person. And it's the same thing with you and other people. The way that you present yourself to other people, that's the way that they perceive you, simply because we are all utilizing the majority of our mental energy focusing on the most important person, which is ourselves. We don't have time to put too much energy into you. So whatever you show me about you, that's the way that I'm going to see you. So if you show me that you have confidence, I'm going to treat you as someone who has confidence. If you show me that you don't, I'm going to treat you as someone who does not have confidence. Now, there are some times in life when we actually get interested in a person, we decide to invest in a person, our attention, our time in a person, our energy, then we'll look deeper into a person and we'll start to assess a little bit more what they're saying, what they're doing, what seems to be congruent in their words and actions, what's incongruent, and then maybe get a deeper read on some people. But the number of people for which we do that is a very small number, because there's just too many people out there for us to put that much time and energy and attention into doing that with everybody that we come across. You never do anything. You would never make it out of bed. You would never you never make it to work every day. You would never go to the gym. You wouldn't be able to do anything for yourself if you were doing that type of analysis on every person that you came across. So we pick and choose very, very selectively the number of people we look that deeply into. And so all of that is said for you to understand that when you accept yourself and you put yourself out there as someone who you are confident in you, then the majority of people who come across you, they're going to be confident in you too. Even if they disagree with you, even if they don't like what you're doing, they will accept the fact that you accept you. They say, okay, I'm not really feeling this person, but they seem to like what they're doing. They seem to be all in on where they're going. They seem to have gotten buy-in from themselves. And when you have buy-in from yourself, you're going to get a whole lot of other people to buy into you. Because I heard somebody once say, if you want to build a following in life, you need people to either A, want to be you, or B, they have to really believe in you. One or the other. Now, if you get both, then I guess you hit the lottery. But if you get one or the other, that's how you can start to build a following. People either have to look at you and your presentation and whatever you show them, and they want to be exactly that, or whatever your message is, however you put yourself out there, other people really, really believe in that message. So we're talking about the second way that you can get people to follow you and listen to you, is that they just got to believe you. And the easiest way to get people to believe you is for you to believe you. People follow your lead when it comes to how you see yourself. So accept that you're going to do what you're going to do, and the people, whoever they are who come across it, they will either like it or they won't like it, and that's completely okay. Nobody out there has the approval of everyone out there in the world. So you could try, if you put yourself out there and the majority of people don't like it, or a certain cross section of people whom you want to like it don't like it, then go back to the drawing board and try something else. That doesn't work, try something else. But you must accept yourself. If you don't accept yourself, people will see right through it, and they won't accept you either, because when they see you don't believe in you, they have no reason to even pay attention to you, to even take in whatever it is you're trying to get out there. Point number 2, today's topic is how to get yourself out of the crowd and onto the stage. Second thing you got to do is accept responsibility. What I mean by this is you have a gift, you have a talent, you have a skill, you have something within you that nobody else has. At least not the way that you have it, or the way that you could deliver it to the world. That's the gift that you have. And because you have this gift, it is your responsibility to share this gift with the world, because this is the thing that you personally are going to put on the table of life that nobody else could put on the table. So in other words, if you don't put it on the table, it'll never be on the table. If you don't put it out there, we will never have it. Whatever that talent or gift or skill is of yours that really needs to be shared with the world. And this is something that you need to look deeply into yourself. If you haven't already figured out what it is, or you never thought about this, you need to figure out what that gift is. Because if you don't get that gift out of you and out into the world, there's no one else out there who has the exact same gift who can get it out to the world. Therefore, the world is just going to go without whatever it is you have. And I don't know, you believe in reincarnation, maybe another version of you will come along 200 years from now and they will finally deliver it. But I don't think you want to be 200 years late. So you need to accept the responsibility of whatever your gift is, the responsibility of sharing it with the world. You can't share your gift from a seat in the bleachers. You can't be sitting up in the mezzanine or in the balcony seats or all the way in the back of the crowd or even in the front row and share your gift with the world. You got to get out of the audience and you got to get yourself onto the stage to share whatever it is you want to share. Remember what you learned in episode 1329 just recently. What makes people valuable? What makes people value you? What makes people see you as valuable is what they feel they can gain through you, through some type of association with you. And if whatever that thing is valuable enough, not only will they value it, they'll pay for it. When we value things, we pay for them. It's simple. It's just how it works. Right? Have you eaten food recently? Or you paid for it, right? Because you value that food that you're going to eat. You turn on the lights today when you woke up, or you pay for the electric bill. Why? Because you value being able to see. You help yourself in life by helping other people. And you already have the resources to do it. The way you help other people is to share whatever your gift is with the world, which will attract the audience of the people who need to experience and engage with that gift. And those people become your audience. And as long as you keep delivering to them and they're still looking for that thing, they will remain your audience. That's basically the way that it works. You should read an article called 1,000 True Fans by Kevin Kelly. He wrote it in Wired magazine probably about 12, 13 maybe years ago. And Tim Ferriss had Kevin update that article and republish it in one of Tim's recent books. I believe it was the Tribe of Mentors book, where he had Kevin Kelly rewrite that article. But just go on Google and look up 1,000 True Fans and read that article. That's what this is all about. Accepting your responsibility, getting your gift out there. Whoever it is that needs to engage with that gift will make themselves seen, heard, and known to you when you make your gift seen, heard, and known to them. The way that you help other people is by sharing your talents with the world, because they can't get it anywhere else. They can only get it from you. Those people will gravitate towards you. And the more you do that, the more they will do what they need to do to stay around you, which means you want to charge for sharing your gift, then go ahead and charge for it. There's nowhere else people can get it. They'll pay for it. But you got to put it out there first so people know that you actually exist. They don't know you exist, and none of these things can happen. Point number 3. Today's topic is how to get out of the crowd and onto the stage in your life, metaphorically speaking. Third point is this. Let's be real. You know that you want to know what it feels like to be on that stage or on that screen instead of in the comment section or instead of sitting in the crowd. You know that you want to know what it feels like. If you haven't been up there before, you want to know what it feels like to be up there. Or if you have been up there and then you went away and went and found yourself a seat in the crowd for whatever reason, maybe your act was over, you want to experience that rush again. You want to get back up there again. You want to put yourself back out there in some way again. And understand, when I'm saying the stage and the screen, I don't necessarily mean you need to become an actor or a professional speaker or a singer getting on stage or a YouTuber or a blogger getting up on the screen. I mean, whatever it is you're going to do, whatever game you really want to be in that maybe you haven't gone all the way in on, you know that you want to, but you just have been hesitating to do so. And I know this. I know that you know this. You know that you've always wondered how you would do in that role, or how you would do if you had that role again. So the question then is, since we agree on this, are you going to allow your own mind to defeat you? Like we talked about in episode 1106, and never find out if you have the tools to really put yourself out there? Do you want to have a regret at the end of your life as a regret of commission, meaning you committed to doing something and it either worked or it didn't work, or a regret of omission, meaning you omitted your opportunity to take action. You didn't do anything And you always have to wonder, what if? Life is going to come down to one of two sentences for all of us in whatever area we want to look at. It's going to come down to either I wish I had or I'm glad I did. One of two. Now, see, this thing about the I'm glad I did sentence doesn't necessarily mean that what you did turned out great. Doesn't necessarily mean it became a success. Doesn't necessarily mean that everything you tried worked in that particular area. You could do something. I mean, think about this yourself. Is there any time in life when you could have done nothing, but instead you did something and it ended up not working? Maybe it ended up costing you. Maybe it ended up in the long run became a mistake. Maybe it ended up something that you're like, man, maybe I should not have taken that step. Maybe I shouldn't have said those words. Maybe I should not have signed up for that. Maybe I shouldn't have gone to that place. Maybe I shouldn't have dealt with that person. When you have those situations, those things that you did, those errors of commission, oftentimes with enough distance between what actually happened and your time reflecting on it, you can look back on it and say, yeah, that did not work out. That ended up being a bad decision. That was a mistake. That did not turn out the way that I thought it was going to turn out. But here's what you say to yourself. You know what? I'm glad I did it anyway. I'm glad that I spoke up and said something, even though nobody really liked what I said. I'm glad that I committed to joining that program and following through on what I said I was going to do, even though doing that didn't really produce a result for me. I'm glad that I took this risky action that a bunch of people were telling me that maybe I shouldn't take, and I was feeling kind of anxious about doing it. But you know what? Even though it didn't work out, even though it ended up being the wrong decision, I'm glad I took that action, because otherwise I never would have known. Oftentimes, this is what happens. If you look back on your own life and your regrets of commission, things that you did that ended up not working, you can look at them most of the time and say, you know, I'm glad I did that, even though it didn't work, even though this cost me more than it made me, even though this ended up being, even though I had to pay the consequences for this action that I took, I'm still glad I did it, because otherwise you would have had the other type of regret in life, or the only type of regret in life, which is I wish I had said something to that person. I wish I had actually done something when I had the opportunity. I wish I had thrown my hat in the ring when the opportunity was there for somebody to step up and take control of this situation. I wish I had the courage, had the heart, had the balls to put myself out there in some way, shape, or form. I wish I had utilized my talents. I wish I had shared my gifts with the world. I wish I had taken the time to figure out what my talents and gifts were, instead of fill in the blank, whatever the things you actually ended up doing besides that were. You don't want to have too many I wish I hads at the end of your life, or at the end of any juncture of your life. You don't want to get to the end of a relationship and say, man, I wish I had done this, this, and this. Maybe this relationship wouldn't be over. Or get to the end of your school years and say, man, I wish I had done these things. I might have done better in school. The end of your athletic career and say, I wish I had done this thing and that thing. Or the end of anything and say, man, I wish I had. And then you have all these different answers that can fill in the blanks. Like those Mad Libs Mad Libs books that they used to have back in the 90s, when it would just be a bunch of blanks that you got to fill in. You don't want to have too many blanks to fill in at the end of a sentence that begins with I wish I had. You want to have as few of those as possible. Change all your wish I hads to I'm glad I dids, even if they end up wrong. Even if they end up the exact worst thing that you could have done, is better than doing nothing. Overall, I say it's better than doing nothing. Even if it doesn't work, at least now you know. At least you went through the experience. At least you have a story that you can tell. If all you got is a whole bunch of wish I hads, nobody wants to hear about that. See, nobody's going to ask you to come up in front of a room of 12 people or 1,200 people and give a speech talking about all the things you wish you had done. All right, nobody wants to hear that, because they're looking at you like, you haven't done anything. Why do we want to hear this person talk? Remember what I told you about the message and the messenger? People buy the messenger before they buy the message. And nobody's buying into you as the messenger with all your I wish I had, all these regrets of omission. In other words, you didn't do anything. Why would anybody want to listen to your message? What's your message based on? It's based on a whole bunch of things that you never did. Now, if a person did a whole bunch of things that turned out wrong, we want to hear that story. I mean, how many stories are there of people who did a whole bunch of stuff that ended up being bad decisions, but then they become famous just by telling their stories of all the ways that they fucked up? Have we heard, how many of those are there? I remember when Mike Tyson, famous boxer, y'all know who Mike Tyson is. He started doing his own, it was like a one-man show, I guess is what they call it. And then he wrote a book, and he's done a whole bunch of interviews. And Mike even has his own podcast now. At least the last time I heard about, he was doing his own podcast. The reason why Mike Tyson is such a compelling figure these days is not necessarily because of his greatness as a boxer. I mean, last time Mike Tyson was really great in boxing was maybe before some of you were even born. But we remember him because at his peak, Mike Tyson was to boxing what LeBron James or Michael Jordan was to basketball. That's how great he was in the boxing world at his peak. But the thing about Mike Tyson that makes him so compelling is that he made a whole bunch of mistakes. He messed up a whole bunch of things. He made a whole bunch of money and lost it. He went to jail on charges that he, to this day, says he was not guilty of. He had a bunch of people who were around him steal money from him because he wasn't paying attention to it. He made all these different types of mistakes. He went and had some really famous losses in the boxing ring. He went and got a face tattoo. He did all these things that made people say, like, we have no idea what this. There was this one press conference he did. I believe it was the Lennox Lewis fight. I believe it was when he was going to fight Lennox Lewis, and Mike Tyson just starts going off on the reporters. You can look this video up on YouTube. And Mike was just in a zone that was like, this guy was like a caged lion at this point in his life. I think he would even admit to that now looking back. But it was all of those regrets of commission, things that he actually did that turned out to be bad ideas. Those are intriguing. They're compelling. We want to hear about those stories. And many of you have probably saw the movie, or maybe you read the book. I saw the movie and read the book called The Wolf of Wall Street about a guy named Jordan Belfort. He was played by Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie, but I actually saw Jordan. He came to Miami and gave a talk probably about 4 or 5 years ago. And I believe he has his own podcast or show now. Everybody has a podcast now. So anybody I mention, they probably have a podcast. And what made Jordan Belfort's story so intriguing was not necessarily the fact that he had made all this money selling these stocks that nobody else was paying attention to, these penny stocks no one's paying attention to. Yes, that was cool, but that wasn't really what made the story a story. What made the story great was that this guy was like a high functioning drug addict. He was making all this money selling these stocks, and he was doing this while on all kinds of drugs every single day. The movie sensationalized it a little bit, but if you actually read the book, The Wolf of Wall Street, he tells it in a much more detail how he was on these drugs. It almost became like, I almost started glazing over the parts where he was talking about the drugs that he was on, because he talked about them damn near every page of the book, how he was taking all of these drugs all the time, and he just seemed to be lucky enough to not die during going through all this stuff. And he seems like a pretty high functioning guy now. I'm pretty sure he's off the drugs. Hopefully he stays off of them. But what made the story interesting is the fact that he went through all these failures. So as I give you all of that, I'm coming back to this last point that I want you to take with you. Your life is going to come down to one of two sentences. You're going to have more of one or the other. Here they are. I wish I had, things you never did, or I'm glad I did, things that you did do, whether they worked or they didn't. Let's recap today's topic, which is how to get out of the crowd and onto the stage, or out of the comment section and onto the screen. Everybody has a small part of themselves that wants to be out there, but many people never actually do it. And what we're talking about here today are the tools you need to utilize to get yourself out there, to move yourself to action to get yourself out there. You already got the tools. Number one, accept yourself. Many people don't put themselves out there because you are concerned with what they are going to think of you, whether they will accept you or not. But understand that we as human beings, we judge people based on the way they present themselves. We are not doing a deep analysis on anyone simply because we're paying too much attention to ourselves to be paying that much attention to you. Therefore, whatever way you present yourself is the way that we're going to see you. Accept that you're going to be who you are, and some people will like it and some people won't. And if you don't like the response you get, then just try something else until you find something that works. But people are not paying that much attention to you as much as you think they are. Point number two, accept your responsibility of the gifts, the talents, the skills that you have. You're responsible for sharing them, because there's no other way those gifts and talents will get out into the world unless they come through you, because no one else has the exact combination, the exact blend of abilities that you have and the timing that you have. Remember what you learned in episode 1329. What makes people value you is what they can gain through you. And if it's valuable enough, they will keep coming back for it. By sharing your gifts with the world, you already will have the resources necessary to identify those people. And listen, you can get them to give you whatever you want in exchange for whatever you're offering, because there's nowhere else they can get it. Point number three, let's be real. You know, you want to know what it feels like to be up there, to be out there in life. You've always wondered how you were doing that role. So are you going to let your own mind defeat you? Like we talked about in episode 1106. Do you want to have regrets of I wish I had or regrets of I'm glad I did? It will be one or the other. Work on your game. Dre all day.